Hello and welcome. You're listening to the Evolvepreneur Secrets Show for entrepreneurs, and I'm your host, Brian Silverthorne. And it's always my mission to help entrepreneurs make the difference they want to make with their businesses and also to help them navigate the messy worlds of startup and growth or relaunch. And today we're going to dig deep with our guest and get you some great concepts and strategies to fast track your business. And our special guest today is Abeer Raza, and Abeer is the founder and CMO of Tech Revel, and his company just reached the Inc. top 5,000 fastest growing companies in, I think, less than 4 years, he said, which is quite an accomplishment. Welcome to the show, Abeer.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you for the introduction.
Good to have you here. And as I said, we're gonna accomplish all this in about 10 minutes or less, which we'll start right now. So let's start with where you're calling in from.
I'm calling in from Dubai.
Oh,
We have an office here, so yeah.
yeah, we got a pretty good bit of geography between us. Yeah.
Yeah, we just set up this office like in January, and we already have a team of 6 people here
Oh,
now. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of crucial for us to kind of pivot from just having an office in US to having a beachhead here as well. I mean, the weather is really nice, and the place is really cool. People love
well, that
traveling. So.
yeah, that's great. That's great. So let's get started with the first question. Who's your ideal client?
So our ideal client would be either, I mean, on one side it would be either an entrepreneur that is looking to kind of scale their idea or their business in the tech world. They would, ideally have something done in terms of a prototype or some ideation about the concept that they want to bring to the market. I mean, like the best way to explain this would be Mark Zuckerberg would be our ideal client back in when he was still in Stanford, so or Harvard actually. So yeah, that's what we like to work with. Really crazy entrepreneurs.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of crazy entrepreneurs out there, and probably, I don't know, can't speak completely from experience, but there's probably a lot of them in the tech world, right? So, what's the problem that you solve for those clients? Oh, did we just,
Definitely, that's where the all the crazies end up these days.
yeah. So, what's the problem that you solve for your ideal clients? Are we? Can you hear me? Okay. Would we need to?
So I think on the base level, what we help entrepreneurs do is sort of flesh out their idea in the tech landscape, because we could get somebody who already knows about tech, or somebody who's looking to introduce tech in a space which is disruptible. So think of like Uber back in the days when people came up with a ride sharing application, and the infrastructure that was there that was pre-existing was taxis and medallions. So we would approach it in a way that how can we think of new way or creative ways to kind of disrupt the industry that's already there. So we would brainstorm with the client, we would kind of flesh out their idea and figure out how it could be done using the current infrastructure. And it's interesting that nowadays most of our clients are actually shifting to enterprise, where enterprise companies are actually looking at their industries and seeing how disruption can actually help them scale faster. So it's not even just entrepreneurs, but enterprise clients are actually starting to think like entrepreneurs, which is an interesting sort of pivot for
Yeah,
us.
that is interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's entrepreneurial thinking is good, regardless of the size of the organization. So, when your clients reach out to you for help, what are the symptoms that they're experiencing at the time that cause them to reach out?
Mostly it's symptoms. Interesting that you mention it. I think for me, an entrepreneur isn't somebody that has a business or has an idea or has a concept or whatever the general description of an entrepreneur needs to be. I think an entrepreneur is somebody who has an itch in their head, and that itch is this problem that they keep relaying in their head, that okay, this is what's happening right now, I don't like it, I want to fix it. And then that itch becomes a problem statement, then that itch becomes a value proposition, that itch becomes a business plan, a pitch deck. It all comes from there. So I think, like somebody who's just not satisfied with the status quo.
Okay, so they got an itch there, and they need somebody to, for lack of a better term, help them scratch it, right? Okay, exactly. So we got about 5 minutes to go. Once you start working with your clients, what's the most common mistakes that you discover that they're making?
I think one of the most common mistakes is looking at their competitors and really understanding their landscape. So we get a lot of people that come in and say, hey, we want to make an Uber in Georgia because, why not? So, looking at how dominant Uber is in the market there, how dominant Lyft is in there, how dominant some of the other ride-hailing services are, you need to really understand that you can't really dethrone those competitors unless you have a niche idea or a market. So I think looking at your competitor landscape is always good before you invest anything, any time or money or whatever.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So if somebody with an itch is considering reaching out to you, so what's one action that they could take right now that'll help them get started? Won't solve all their problems, but it'll give them a leg up.
So we do a lot of blogging and we do a lot of content creation in terms of value proposition for our clients. We do workshops in our Houston office, in our Miami office, in our Dubai office, in our Pakistan office. We used to do that in Ukraine as well, but sadly due to the war, we've kind of scaled that back. So they're welcome to kind of come over and brainstorm with us, do our workshops. They're welcome to kind of log into our podcast. They're welcome to read our blogs and kind of digest that information and sort of go from there to whatever other means that they need to kind of find out. We have a pretty nifty calculator on our website as well, so you can actually figure out what that itch will cost you to scratch it. So there's a lot of homework that you can possibly do before you even have to reach out to us. But if you want to reach out to us, we're pretty friendly people. We're not going to sell you. Our main focus is always to bring value, which is one of the reasons why we're the highest rated company in the US right now in the application development space. And the awards and everything else kind of tie in with that.
Great. That's good to know. So you're talking about people taking advantage of your blogs and other things. Where can people find you? What's the best way to get to those sources?
techrevol.com, tekrevol.com/blogs. Or you can search up any topic in the technology development space, and you probably find us listed somewhere. We're really good at marketing, so we're pretty out there. In fact, if you search me up, Abeer Raza, you'll find a lot of interviews where I talk about these topics myself. NBC articles, Forbes articles, where I've been very, very thorough in my research. I think the first thing that you need to understand is that it doesn't cost a multi-million-dollar to build an application or even $100,000. You can start with a lean approach. You can start with a landing page. You can start with something very, very basic to get your thoughts out there, and then start to accumulate capital or raise capital to kind of go the next step.
Okay, great. So since all entrepreneurs have challenges, and we got a couple of minutes left here for these, even those that are the 6, 7, and 8 figure earners. So what's the biggest problem right now in your business, if you had one, that should be addressed?
Too many ideas, too many things to do, too many things to accomplish, too little time. So I think it doesn't matter if you have $1 billion, like we saw with Elon Musk and his failed acquisition of Twitter. There's never a time when you just don't want to accomplish something that you cannot, and you just have to prioritize and figure out whether winning the space race is more important than acquiring Twitter. So it's just a matter of like prioritizing and just being mindful. I think I've learned that the hard way, that you have to control your own mind before you can control anybody else's. So that's key.
Yeah, I hear a version of that a lot, about mindset and it's staying organized, that sort of thing. So that's kind of a common theme. So we're getting toward the end here. What's one question I should have asked you but didn't get around to it?
Um, I mean, like I guess based on mindfulness, I would have loved to talk about more on this because I feel like being an entrepreneur and sort of because most people don't really understand like when they started off, it's not easy. There's a lot of sleepless nights, there's a lot of hurdles and hardships and things like that, and really prioritizing growth of the business above your own growth, your personal growth, or your relationship growth. So I think we really need to start asking that question, like, is it really worth everything? Like, yeah, I mean, it's all glamour right now with the entrepreneurship, but is it really worth you stepping into it, leaving your 9 to 5 job and your work-life balance? And you should be prepared for it, I guess, if you do.
Okay, actually, that's very solid advice. Sorry about that.
Nice.
So that's probably a good way to end it. So that's a wrap on another great guest episode of the Evolvepreneur Secret Show for entrepreneurs. And just before you leave, if you like this episode, please give it a 5-star rating and share it with a couple of friends so we can spread the word. And if you want to make sure you don't miss out on any future episodes, go to Evolvepreneur Secrets Show. And if you are an entrepreneur, let's get your next best idea out there today.